Cool. I remembered to unmute everything. We are live. Welcome Oh fuck, where's the cameras? The cameras went away when I transitioned.
Oh no.
Iconic.
All right,
We back.
we'll get
Just so
those
you know.
sorted. Welcome to Hockey Talk tonight. This is a hot mess already. I say that like every other episode.
Yee.
Um, that cam is Birdman. This cam is Dwight. Oh, that's not the right one. We're getting
Oh
there.
boy, they're reversed now.
We're getting there. That one is Smith.
What up?
We did it. Boom. There we go.
Uh,
The lesson is never try. You're honestly probably right. I could set this up while everybody watches and nobody would know anything went wrong. Welcome to Hockey Talk tonight. We've got the bottom two guys back. Now we're missing Phalanx. He's been replaced by the other San Francisco GM because that's apparently everybody that shows up on this show. Welcome my classmate, Lord Birdman, one of the other oldest guys in the SHL at this point. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's see. First,
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Long time listener, first time caller.
You had joked in San Francisco that if you won the charity auction for Agent Smith's Recreate name, that you wanted to announce it on Hockey Talk, and then suddenly here you are. What a coincidence!
I know. It feels good. It's an expensive item, but what can you do?
Yeah, I actually got a couple questions about why we didn't put like a Hockey Talk spot up for auction, and like it just like didn't ever make sense. Like, especially recently, we've put like more and more guests on the show, and like
Right.
since we're doing it so frequently and featuring so many different like people and perspectives, it made sense to
I
just.
think it makes sense because like you want to be able to control who comes on the show to a point, you know.
Yeah. Way to make it sound like I'm a control freak.
I
But...
mean, you like, yeah, but still, like, I don't know.
But like, there's every once in a while, like things go on in the league that like it's relevant to get different perspectives for, and like those are fun to have. And like Jess and I were talking about it for a little while because Jess and Jert put up a spot for auction, and I think there was another podcast up for auction.
Rich and Luke, they
Yeah.
had a spot that was available.
And I don't know, it's just not how I envisioned it. And like, yeah, it was for charity. But I chalked up everything that we did with like the Prime subs for charity as making up for the fact that we didn't do that. But charity has wrapped up. The final tally is still getting sorted. It looks like we definitely got toast roasts. Trying to remember what other incentives there were, and I'm not sure we hit the highest ones, but some of the auctions got pretty far up there.
I didn't even know there was like an incentive goal or anything like that. But that's
Yeah.
just how much I pay attention.
That's honestly something that we probably could focus on more for the next charity drive. Is that all the information was out there, but it didn't really get a lot of attention outside of like just hyping it up and a couple of us trying to like, drive attention. And like if you refresh the forum at the right time and saw the auctions going on, but it was kind of hard to identify like what all was going on with the charity.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Charity drive now live. We definitely hit Toast's roast, which Toast is going to put on a award show for us, but I don't think we got double Twitter, double media. We might have gotten double Twitter.
We got double graphics, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, we did?
And, yeah.
Okay.
And,
Really?
I'm pretty I'll double check that real quick. Give me a second.
Okay.
I remember
Because I know we
seeing
didn't
announced-
get the bonus 2 TPE, but that's fair.
I remember. Oh, for the charity drive. Oh, my mistake. I was just saying in general.
Oh, yeah. And I mean we got double media all the time.
Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah. I think the incentives were set at a fair point. We just it was a little hard to track how much progress was being made. We also didn't have a lot of like straight up donations. It was a lot through the auction.
There.
I don't know if you guys noticed that. In relation to like the last couple charity drives, we had the Trevor Project one last year and the Black Lives Matter one like a year and a half ago. Hockey Talk was participating in both, but it felt like when there wasn't any auctions, there was more attention paid to just general donations. I'm wondering if you guys picked up on that shift at all, that the auctions kind of took everybody's attention, and I don't know if we raised less for it, but it was something that was on my mind.
Right.
I think also a couple of years ago, there's the team related goals. Like I remember wanting to win that for Colorado. And
Yeah, we didn't have that this
donation
time.
for that.
And it got kind of weird because I remember, like I remember donating on behalf of Carolina, but then like teams, like everybody's got affiliations with multiple teams. Like you look at, I've got Seattle and Carolina affiliations, like between player and GM roles, and you've still got like Colorado ties, but you're mostly San Francisco. Smith is with San Francisco and like participates in the war room there, but we'll have a J team in a week or two.
Yeah.
And Dwight like actively participates in Carolina's war room, but also runs Tampa. So it got weird from the like team donation perspective, because like some people just have close, like I was donating on behalf of Carolina instead of LAP, but like it was like a weird split focus. I don't really know if you can reconcile that, but I thought that the like donating to be like the top team to donate was kind of cool. I think that it was like a healthy competition going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one also had the charity card.
Yeah,
Which
we have those again this time.
Okay. I remember wanting to get that, but then I don't even buy the cards anymore. So
Yeah.
it's kind of irrelevant for me. But
I do
nice when
have your
other people
card
grab
for what
one.
it's worth.
Yeah.
I was bummed that I didn't get one before. But like they're up for raffle now. Like every $1 you donate gets you a charity card raffle entry, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You can also win FHM8, and I can thrust that. If I win that, I can thrust that torment onto somebody else, and that'll be great. Can make somebody else in Carolina do lines for a season and see how that goes.
Right.
But back to the charity drive, the active one going on. There were a couple interesting side stories. We had a couple auctions go over $100. One for the San Francisco Pride Arena name, which exploded out of nowhere. And I know a couple different parties were looking to make memes out of that.
I think a lot of people are like, like inside jokes, or
Yeah.
like, they used to be on the team and wanted to name it something, but,
Or Portland.
or Portland.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, naming it something Portland really would have been kind of funny.
Yeah.
There were a
Has it
couple
been
ones.
announced yet?
There were a couple ones that I heard that were directed at Toast that I was a big fan of.
Yes.
I know that everybody was kind of just look, not even to get their jabs in at Toast, but to put make a little joke at Toast and SFP's expense, and that was fun. I thought that was like overall pretty fun and pretty healthy. Schwarz emotes got one over 100.
I think Toast ended one of them at $100.
Yeah.
It was the second one.
The D&D campaign easily hit over 100 in total.
Right.
But
there
I
were,
don't.
what, 5 seats?
There were 5 seats for the D&D one shot that Trips is running, which like I play in a Trips campaign. It's a lot of fun. Like that one was like well worth it. Some of the trading card ones got way up there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting them to. I thought those were going to cap out at like 10 or 20.
I remember they finished around 40s.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so I was surprised on that one, but like happy to see it. I think that you got to like put somebody at the front of the line for the Hall of Fame cards was a nice little add-on to that.
Yeah.
Had some SIGs. Let's see. Anything else that kind of blew up? Oh,
Kind
yeah.
of regret not going for one of the one shots.
Yeah.
See, because I was in that with you 7 initially, and
Oh,
I just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but I like kept having to miss it, and it was just like I didn't want to be that guy.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's fair. And, like, obviously said
It was fun.
we didn't replace you with anybody, if that's any consolation. Nobody could replace you.
Irreplaceable.
But, like, you definitely see the value in that one.
For sure.
The literal shirt off my back went to Jert, which was a fun one.
Yeah.
Starting
Is it the shirt you're currently wearing?
is not the shirt I'm currently wearing. This is an old college team sweatshirt or college team tank top. No, Jert will get to pick a team. I'll buy something off the merch store as I do my yearly purchase, because I have to pick up I have to pick up a Seattle Cup shirt. I have to pick up a Seattle like normal shirt. I think I have to pick up like a new LAP logo shirt. So we'll add on the one that Jert wants. I'll wear it on here a couple times and ship it off to Canada.
Unwashed.
That's his choice.
Of course, unwashed.
I said I was gonna wash it because I'm not gonna get into that mess.
No, you gotta go to the gym in it and then send it and then.
Look, I'm
The musk was the whole point, right?
for
Yeah.
the kids.
The
For the
must.
kids, I'll wear the shirt to the gym if Jert wants me to. I think Jert just wanted me to put on a really small shirt and watch it rip, which was also really entertaining.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Lions Speak Tonight is going to be hosting Jess at
That'll be
some
fun.
point, which will be a good time.
Yeah.
Jess.
Oh, who won the naming rights?
That
to
was
Hockey
also
Talk?
Jess, which was I was about to say. The Hockey Talk tonight will be brought to you by probably Jess and Jert, or whatever Jess wants to sponsor it with for the next season. She owns the naming rights to Hockey Talk tonight for a couple months.
I love it. I'm excited. Should be a good time.
And most entertainingly, and the most expensive auction in the league by far, was the one for your Recreate's name.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Which
That was your idea, and it was a great idea.
I was pumped. I had thought of it like a couple days prior, when you had mentioned that you were probably gonna do it, or probably gonna recreate. And I was like, okay, when this happens, I need to immediately get him to do that. So your Recreate name went up for auction. Birdman actually won the auction, and I have no idea what this is going to be. So Birdman, would you like to tell everybody, including Agent Smith, what his Recreate player's name is going to be?
Yeah, I would. There's
Did you
nothing
post
I'd
the
rather
media
do.
yet?
No, I figured I could follow up. There's a brief
Alright.
media that can follow. So this will be you're all hearing it
Wait, so
here first. Yeah.
if you're about to post media, is it what I think it's going to be?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you have a good idea of what it's
Oh
going
my
to be.
No.
But this name, it really requires a little bit of a backstory. And as my wife's across the room reading, she's going to really enjoy this story as well and think she's going to divorce me instantly. But really, the story stretches back, many years in real life, but
Literally 2 years ago.
many seasons ago, back when Sven was a young player in the SMJ HL, and through, I'm not really sure how, he managed to meet a fine young woman by the name of Sarah Wagner. And there was rumors swirling. I know there's a TMZ article that came out. Turns out all those stories were true, and Sven and Sarah did have a brief fling that resulted in a beautiful baby bastard boy. for obvious reasons, they both decided that it was best to keep this secret from the world, and particularly from Sarah's brother Jimmy, Sven's respected but bitter rival. It was just pretty easy for them to conceal the pregnancy because Jimmy was pretty wrapped up in his hockey career, and Sarah disappeared off to Europe to claim she was training for the Olympics, but really a little boy was born, and they both decided it was best to have him raised outside of the orbit of Jimmy and his evil empire, much like Luke and Leia in Star Wars The Vader, Jimmy in this case. So Sven consulted with his mentor, Henrik Leckberg Alsterman, HLO, who suggested that the boy be raised by HLO's hockey-obsessed reindeer rancher uncle in the uncharted lands of northern Sweden. So, all these years later, Sven is now finally acknowledged his bastard child, and is proud to announce that Smith's recreate name is going to be Johnny Wagner Svensson.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Incredible.
I forgot that for a while I had forgotten that this came up a month ago in SFP. Like, for some reason, like, somebody was talking about it. And I remember, like, us having that conversation.
Yeah.
And it came back to me today. And in our little group chat, in, like, the Hockey Talk group chat, I was like, wait, what if this is actually just the Sven and Sarah child? And,
well, I knew when I saw that Smith's name was going to be up for grabs. It's just something that had to happen, given you guys knowing each other, and it was a perfect outlet for it to happen.
oh my god!
I love it.
They're honoring both last names.
Where is that?
figured
Where's that
Johnny was a
original
good
thread
person.
you made? I can't find it.
I don't know. It's
Oh no, because it got bumped. Because Rice Bowl posted it. I found it.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh my god. The COVID times were a wild, wild time.
yeah, some weird times. I remember thinking to myself, why is Seven adding a sister to the league? That just seems like ripe for trolling.
Yeah, I mean, like so back in the day, we were like, all we had, because this was like season 54, 55, we were like just getting involved with the league. It was summer, it was COVID, we couldn't really go do anything. So like we were all just pumping out media. And so like we had like Ham and me and Roast Puff starting up like the SHN. I was doing like random like character media wherever we could, and like I was like, oh yeah, I'll do stuff to like flesh out the backstory, and like, oh yeah, Jimmy's fast, his mom was a sprinter, his sister's a sprinter, there we go. And like it was just like stuff to like build the world, and then you got in on it and it just turned hilarious. I made a Twitter just to chirp back at you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's now official on the site.
Oh my god.
Maybe I'll post that media. I'll just wait. I'll wait.
That's incredible. I am pumped for this, honestly. That you like even remembered it.
Yeah.
But absolutely fantastic.
I'm very happy with how it all came together. It was sort of just it became a joke when I saw that Smith was putting the name up for grabs. It's like, how funny would that be?
Yeah.
Just keep that joke that literally is like 2.5 years old or something going.
No, that's fantastic, especially because like it's just gonna last like another 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh man, that was like right when Kobe died too. I'm looking at your screenshot of that you used for the media.
Oh, oops.
And when Tom and Giselle were heating up Costa Rica, apparently.
Oh, apparently.
Oh no.
man. Athlete relationships aren't forever. You gotta remember that, kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right, that's fantastic. Um, other things that I wanted to talk to you about um, long-time SHL things. You were at one point the Colorado GM. Like we briefly had time as peers at that point. You stepped away from jamming for a while in general. Came back to eventually run San Francisco when Smith stepped down. What drove your decision to come back to GMing?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when I stepped away, I think I was just, feeling a little bit burned out. I think it's easy to get burned out pretty quickly, especially I think, we all jumped in, like you said, it was COVID, there wasn't a lot going on. And it was also relatively early in our SHL careers.
Yeah.
So I think I knew it was sort of time to step back a little bit, and felt like I had really good group of people that I brought in, including Jumbo and Rugsy and even Jert, who it was like just hard to even pick who to any of those people could have easily led the team, but so I felt really good about leaving the team in their hands, and then took some time to sort of just get back into enjoying the league a little bit. I think also when I was the GM of Colorado, my player was still in the J, so it was just easier to understand what was going on there. Like I had much less exposure to the SHL. I didn't know the rule book. I didn't have a strong grasp of how teams built themselves and did day-to-day operations, just all that stuff. So I think after being at the SHL for a while, when Smith was stepping down, initially B Fine or Soda stepped in, but he was sort of stepping in on an interim basis, and then I also jumped into. I guess my decision was really we needed someone, and I'll be honest, I've been somewhat helpful to Toast, but he's really the one leading the charge. So I try to chip in here and there, but I am kind of a joke of a co-GM. I helped out with the draft this past weekend.
Okay.
Toast gave the marching orders, but got a trade done, so that was good.
You were there.
That was your doing?
You were there to be our drink representative for keeping up with a drink per pick kind of deal.
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, Toast was also like Toast is a cool guy. He was at a party.
Okay.
So, but he was able to message on mobile and stuff. So it was his idea to do the trade. So I was just the puppet. He was the puppet master.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've just tried to be helpful and giving my thoughts on users and trades and things like that. But really, it's Toast that's doing all the heavy lifting. So it's been good to be back, but I imagine we've got some strong earlier users in our group that someone's gonna rise up and boot me from the co-GM seat probably.
Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Toast is looking forward to it. Someone that'll actually do something. But in the meantime, I'm cashing my SHL checks and
not having a championship week.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's helping Ben survive for a little longer. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. You mentioned staying alive a little bit longer. You're one of, I think, 15 of us left that are earning in season 53. Do you see that still going for a little while longer, or do you see that wanting to get back to the J at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I think that with how long it takes to get to a certain level of productivity in the SHL, I want to keep it going for a while longer. honestly, I just haven't been as great an earner, so I'm not really buying the coaching or the what would used to be equipment. I think it's coaching now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I mean, in some weeks I even just like forget to do the $1 million training. So I'm gonna, I mean, I'm still trying to do, tasks
Yeah.
to keep Sven alive, but I know it's probably
Just
a matter of time. I mean,
yeah.
if we're rebuilding, and Sven's useful at like 600 TPE, then
Yeah.
keep his zombie ass out there going.
Yeah, if it makes more
But
sense to have like your old player there and like collect a small paycheck and like not like use up an IFA at some point, then
Hmm.
it makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
And you can kind of align your player with what the team's trying to do.
yeah, exactly. I think I will make a next player. I think it's probably unlikely that I'll just be cranking out. Be like I won't. My last player I was an updater for a while, and that supported uh, max earning. But
Hmm.
I think it's more likely my next guy is just going to be a middle of the road D man that will,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
that kind of
that
like
will just be
slot
helpful.
filler. Like
Yeah, which actually there is some value to with the current
yeah,
cap structure.
yeah. No, Dwight's been saying that a lot. Like if you're gonna get above like into that 6 million cap, like you better be going all out on it.
Right.
And
Hmm.
like there's a lot of value for teams to have like those $3 and $4 million contracts that like
Yeah.
don't fluctuate a lot.
If you have a player that is just permanently in the 900 to like 1200 range, like you're regressing, like you hit 900, then you max earn for the season, then you regress down and back into that 900 tier, like that player is probably one of the most valuable players right now
Mm-hmm.
in the current system.
Yeah, they'll probably change that in a few seasons by the time.
By the time
Yeah.
it's relevant for
Maybe
you,
maybe I'll put my next player's name up for auction.
well, there you go.
There you go.
Charity auction
Seven will
next year.
Seven will buy it and make some minted name. Um, but yeah, that's how I'm thinking about it. I
We
guess.
just unintentionally end up with a bunch of Wagners across the league.
I'd be okay with that.
Um, let's see what else.
Wow, Smith, I see you have the new name below you already.
Yeah,
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I was ready to update it with whatever it ended up being.
We're on it.
Was there any other names that you were entertaining, or were you locked in on that one?
I was very locked in on the backstory and the hyphenated last name.
Okay.
I asked Smith if he had a preference for a first name. I was considering going with James,
Okay.
but Johnny just seemed like a good fit.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, you mentioned helping Toast out with the draft a little bit, mostly by drinking. But you also partook in the draft. I, for once, did not have to partake in the SHL draft. It was a nice relief from having to be involved with that for most of the last, two-ish years. How do you guys think that your drafts went personally? How do you think the draft went overall? And anything, your immediate takeaways from the SHL draft that we had last weekend?
Wait, Dwight, you want to go?
Oh
You
yeah,
go?
sorry. Yeah. Big thing was just like for us personally, like it was just a really mundane. Like it was we were happy with who we got. We got a cap and
Yeah.
yeah at 6, which you can't complain about. But the big thing statement for this draft class was had a lot of depth
Mhm.
that really hasn't been found for a while in draft classes. Um, you really got some really good value all the way through the third round, which is really rare in an SHL draft. Um, yeah, and that there wasn't really anything crazy that went on other than the fact that it was quickly done
Yeah.
compared to most SHL standards. Now I don't know how the presentation went. I think that one went a lot longer.
Yeah.
Just being thorough and really giving everyone their spot to shine. Which great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. I mean,
presentation
like you
team.
you can't make that as quick as
Absolutely,
as the actual draft
absolutely.
goes in GM chat sometimes.
Absolutely, but for reference, we would oftentimes have the stream catch up to GM chat,
Yeah.
and they were really stalling for time, and that really put a lot of pressure on them. I really think a lot of it came down to Trips having a ton of picks and knowing who he wanted to take and really keeping us moving. And Wally not having any draft capital to trade into the draft. So,
Okay.
So, no, I'm just kidding. I take forever to trade picks as well. So,
Seven doesn't know anything.
You missed last week when Toast was just ripping on me for taking too long in the J draft.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I feel like you gotta try and take keep it between 3 and 5 minutes, and even that's really generous. But if you have a trade going on from 5 different teams, randomly for a second round pick, it's just kind of all right, that keep it under 10.
Yeah,
keep it under 10 minutes.
I know you obviously only had you had 6 overall, and then you didn't have a pick until Tony Hockey and
Tony Hockey, baby.
And
that was 46.
Yeah, Freak down in the 4th round as a goalie. Were you ever entertaining moving around in the draft, or were you kind of complacent with where you were? Because I know you mentioned this being a pretty deep draft.
I really thought about moving up a little bit, but because of the depth of the draft, I was really happy with 46 with whoever we were going to get. Now, if you were going we were probably right at the fringe of the 3rd round, getting really, really quality players. For people who don't really watch history of drafts or read history of drafts, I'm pretty sure
this was better than most. But it also was a Reddit draft.
You'd get the quality of, let's say, these players who were at 46, 47, 45. They were pretty much at 225 to 270 TP. That range of people, I think last draft, I can double check mine, but that was early 2nd round.
Yeah.
So that just really goes to show how deep this draft was. And yeah, there were a lot of really, really great personalities, great returning faces that we saw. And yeah, if you had a lot of picks in this draft, I think you should be happy.
Yeah. Speaking of a lot of picks, Birdman, you guys had 7 overall, and then 12, 20, 34, and 72, which ended up being Toast's player.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways from the draft? You guys had a lot of work to do, I'm sure. I know Toast mentioned last week that he was doing a lot of prep for this upcoming draft. Did things go about how you expected? Were you guys caught off guard by anything? How'd that go?
I think that things overall went as expected. We had a lot of scouting to do, so Toast had a lot of scouting to do. And no, I think that just from talking to him, we were pretty impressed with just how many solid options there were.
Yeah.
And, separating out a top 10 pick from, one in the 20s or 30s, there really was actually not that huge of a delta in terms of, both the TPE on those players so far and, the personalities, including a lot of pretty exciting first generation players, which is always great. They're the lifeblood of the SHL, so it's great to see those new faces. And yeah, I mean we had targets in mind at each of those picks. I think that Toast put in a lot of work in trying to understand who was going where, and I think him being in that rookie chat, having his own player in the draft and having access to seeing, what those rookies were mocking and where people were going. We had a generally pretty good idea, I think, for the first, at least our first two picks who would be available there, are pretty happy with who we got in Lore at 7, Jax at 12. Then we got Rancid Budgie, whose last player was in San Francisco, was in the war room. Then we had to kick him out, and then readmit him pretty quickly right after. And then we actually traded back in to get pick 34,
Yeah.
I believe. We gave up a second rounder for the next draft, just feeling like stacking your prospects around a certain season is desirable, especially knowing the quality of the depth of the draft this season versus somewhat of an unknown at this point. Versus next season felt pretty good about that. We got Das Boot with that pick, and then I wanted to draft Toast later, but sadly our next pick was 72. And I guess
And you couldn't
can't
pass,
actually
yeah.
pass and then pick someone.
Yeah, you need to coordinate that with somebody so that you trade like your 4th through whatever round picks to a team, and then they pass, and then you use whatever pick, like super deep pick that you're trying for.
Yeah, and I guess in theory, be the rules, we don't even really have to pick the GM, but Toast felt very strongly that he wanted a draft number, so 72 overall it was, a strong showing from him.
Yeah.
I think overall we were pretty pleased, happy with the guys we got, and feel pretty good about it. I mean, it really was shocking seeing how late there really was great options. So I think the message to all the draftees is like, it doesn't really matter where you were picked, because it was relatively arbitrary to an extent.
Mm-hmm. No, we also had very entertainingly. None of you got. I know Dwight and Smith are aware. We had the somebody playing the sneaky game long term. Bird, did you see that in the media section this week?
I didn't. I'll have to take a look right now.
There was the thread's called Sneaky Sneaky. I'll post it in the chat as well. Sneaky Sneaky is by a waiver claim pickup that I made at the start of the season named Ceylon, who, when I signed him, as far as I knew, that he was just discovering sim leagues and enjoying things so far, but didn't really feel like using Discord because he had real life commitments and didn't want to get too invested into anything. Season goes by, he min earns, he hits about 230 or so, gets drafted in the 3rd round of Manhattan, and then posts the media out of the blue, and I get a DM. I get like multiple DMs from people saying, "Hey, did you check the media section?" So I open up the media section. I'm like, "Oh God, what happened?" Because like anytime anybody's saying, "Hey, did you see this media?" it's never good. And it's Ceylon, who was actually one of the VHL Board of Governors, like their HO. Former GM over there, currently HO over there, decided that he wanted to be a late round draft pick and play out that dream of a late bloomer. Kind of like how Phalanx was on his player, where he got drafted late and then max earned after that. And his entire goal was to go unnoticed for a season and then be a surprise present for a team in wherever he got drafted, and max earned from here on out.
Where'd he go? That's pretty cool.
He went to Manhattan.
A pick before Tampa.
Yeah, I know Dwight was looking at him. I know Kez was looking at him. I know that I mentioned it to Toast and a couple other teams who are all like, okay, yeah, like I'll keep him in mind. And turns out I bamboozled everybody by not having any idea what was going on. And to do that would have probably gone end of the 1st, beginning of the 2nd, went super late in the draft.
Chicago probably would. Whoever has Patty on their team would probably scoop them up.
Yeah, well, I mean, like he also had connections with Anthique in Texas.
Oh yeah, Texas would have nabbed him.
And there's a couple VHL crossovers in the league, like Orbiting Death and a couple other players have had experience across both leagues.
True.
But yeah, that was a wild time. He ended up going 45th overall.
Some deep value.
Yeah, insane value for what they're potentially going to get.
I mean, heck, even if he just goes to 900 vibes, that's insane value.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Hey, you have one pick in the draft. You get good use out of it. Shout out to their scouting department for reaching out and doing their due diligence.
Teams out there that like they might not have like a first or a second, and they might have like a first and then no second, and like if that's the pick that you're hitting on, that looks insane in hindsight. So hopefully that turns into something good for Manhattan, but honestly, just kind of hilarious. You mentioned a little bit ago, Bird, about the advantage of having a GM player in the class of that you're about to draft from. We don't have that, but we do have, as we've talked about a little bit before, Agent Smith's currently in the class of season 69, which honestly, of all the people in the group that would have been in S69, it was probably going to be you. A, how are you finding the S69 class? B, has it given you any insight into anything about the league now that you have a lot more perspective going through it a second time?
I think the class of 69 is, I mean, it's still growing. There's still, what, five days before the draft is on Sunday, right?
Yeah, Sunday night.
Yeah, so we still have 5 days for people to create. I don't know if if there's been any recruitment posts on Reddit at all at this point.
Hasn't yet. That'll be coming later in the week.
I'm expecting the class to grow quite a bit. Plus, there's still time for people to recreate if they're looking at that still.
Yeah.
So, so far the class of 69 it's been a lot of fun. There are a lot of big names and a lot of new names that are making a good impression. So I'm excited to see how the class continues to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, in comparison to this class of 68, it's
very recreate heavy.
Yeah, it's very, which is unsurprising given it's haha funny sex number, right? So. People have been talking about this draft class for like what?
Literally a year, at least.
Literally a year or more than that. So, I would not be surprised to see more growth. As for the player, my first player was a defensive defenseman, so it's I was not really focused on scoring goals, and I'm kind of going the opposite approach this time around, going offensive heavy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You do have Jimmy Wagner and Sven Svensson's blood.
That's right. Exactly.
That is
exactly.
two Ron Mexico nominees out there.
I think I'm following like the speedy forward archetype.
Oh my
point.
goodness! I love how it's so relevant now.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I'm looking forward to actually being able to score goals with this player.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it should be fun.
Phenomenal.
I guess it's hard to draw that comparison when like the first time through you were a first gen with not a lot of perspective. How has the heavy recreate bias been in the S69 community? Has that been noticeable at all, or is it everybody just kind of vibing still?
I think right now it's just kind of vibing. I think as more people start to recreate or as more people start to join, we'll see how it balances out.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the draft, you're going to see a lot of big names go early.
Wow, hyping yourself up.
Gasp, right? Well, I mean, I'm not the only one. You've got Bromanov, you've got MCP, you've got the class is huge in recreate so far. In Wally, it's like we've got a ton of big names in there. Geck,
EE
Simo,
baby.
Nick Talks, Overdue, Ritu. Like it's just there's a ton of really, really big names that I think are going to be attracting a lot of attention. So, yeah, it's been fun so far.
Yeah.
Plus, you have guys like give a shout out to Zap because he's here and he's been
super active.
The focus, super active, focus of a lot of attention. So I think he's making an impression and a name for himself.
Yeah.
So
I like to point out Wally in the chat saying 3 players in 5 seasons. Like I wasn't about to tag Luke in your recreate page. Say, hey, here we go again, boys.
Here we go again.
And Wally immediately saying the same thing. So yeah, we're coming up. We're 5 days? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 days till the SMJHL draft. Patty and his unnamed co, since Lime just stepped down at number 1 with Newfoundland, Carolina, Great Falls, Kelowna, and Anchorage rounding out the top 5. Regina has a pair of picks. St. Louis has a pair of picks in the later round. Great Falls has 3, 14, 16. That's pretty good. A lot of big names that we mentioned. Anybody you're curious to follow their journey of as far as through the J, like the recreates that you're like, okay, are they going to go high? Are they going to go at like the end of the first? Who's going to be like super interested in them?
I'm not sure yet. You know, it's I've talked to a few teams, and they're just testing it out, seeing who's around and who's available, and so it's kind of reliant on what NL decides to do.
Yeah.
Are they going to try and trade out? 1 overall is pretty big in a class with this many big names.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Chalk just won a cup with LA.
Right. Yeah.
Slappy and Bonker back. Charlie Conway's recreating.
Yep.
And that's just like recently. Nick Tox, the former St. Louis GM.
Yeah.
The list of names goes on and on.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's like I said, I've talked to a few teams, and most of them are just kind of being like, we'll kind of see how things fall. If you're there, then we'll see. But it depends on who's still available. So
I think it's always interesting to see the recreates that didn't go super deep on that last player, because I feel like the ones that had obvious success, they're going to go high, but there's some that, maybe they get to, the 450 mark or 500.
Yeah. And those players there. Have if they're a locker room presence, those players have the same value as the Charlie Conway, Agent Smith. These guys are going to hit 2K, but Geck's going to hit 450, and Geck's super around the locker room, and it's the cap of a value for a. Oh yeah, back when we had the 5th seasons.
Yeah.
No, it was something that actually kept in mind.
Yeah.
And especially because you still have people going up after 3, and you're like, okay, this person could be down for 3, 4, or 5 seasons, and objectively as the JGM, you're like, okay, I'd rather have the guy for 4 or 5 seasons than for 3. And that was a legitimate thing that you had to take into consideration. I think that's kind of consolidated, and I think most people are down for 4 right now. I think there's fewer people going up early, but I'm curious if anybody's noticed anything different.
It's about to change a lot, especially because we're actually we've reached or started to reach a breaking point where regression is actually starting to show its head, and a lot of people are just retiring. So you're, as a league.
Yeah, so you think we're going to have more people going up after 3 just to fill those slots?
Yeah, instead of, let's say, 30% of the league being 800 or 900 GP and below, it's now going to get closer to probably about 40 or 50% in that range. Just because you have 2K players retiring because they don't want to deal with regression. They don't want to fight their player. And it's and I mean, heck, this is probably the most competitive it has been about IFAs.
I mean, you've got multiple teams that are like hyper incentivized to tank right now, and that's fair.
I mean, you can still be incentivized to tank, but you don't want your young guys to absolutely get booty blasted because they have a 200 TPE like defensive pair behind them. Yeah. Like you want your young people to not be doomed.
No, totally fair.
Yeah. So
Though it's been interesting seeing some of the players on their way down regressing, still having pretty good seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like Winters just was well over a point per game at like 900 or 1,000, something like that.
You're right. He is playing really well, but he's got an amazing supporting group with him. If you look at tactics,
yeah. I'm actually like curious as to how well regressing players are going to be able to fight things. Because specifically for a long time, and it was something that Geek mentioned or Chevy mentioned last episode. He was asking, like what I expected, Jimmy Wagner's career to look like from here on out, and there was for the longest time I was looking at like trying to force Hall of Fame just by like chasing after the games played record, and like the regression scale seemed like that I could still do it, and now that like there's 2 cups, like maybe I don't, but I'm curious to see like what the deep regressing players look like performance wise, and like how viable it is to push past 20 seasons on a player at this point, because I think especially as you're getting more and more throughput, you're going to have a lot more younger players looking to take those spots, and it's going to get really interesting from a league wide perspective of like player ages and player TPs and things like that. But I also think
I was just looking at getting to the 1,000 game mark.
Yeah.
It's funny, to 20 seasons, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's possible. I mean, if you're still, I guess you'd have to look at like when you're starting to really
like fall off,
significantly lose that replacement TP that you can earn every year, which is like it's like something like 200 is like the max.
Yeah, you can max it into like 180, 190. I lost 300 this season. That sucked.
I mean, it diminishes as you get lower, though.
Yeah,
it does, but like the percentage keeps going up. So you're like constantly losing 300, and
significant chunk.
You end up leveling out around like 600 or 700.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is if it levels out in the 600 to 700, and you're still earning like 200,
like you go up to like 850 or 900, and then you go back down again,
and this is why I say with the salary changes where it goes to the leveling, it really incentivizes you to have like one Joe K type player, like in the season 40s where they were 20 plus seasons old and they were balancing back and forth between 600 and 800 TPE permanently. That point still exists. It's just shifted down to I think 450 to 650, which is still very viable for defensemen. Like you see Toronto do extremely well with McGriddle's player, which is that. So, I do like the new FHM where like you're not sentenced or you're not completely doomed in the regular season by having a like a weaker player, at least at defense. I don't know about forward, but I'm curious if the playoffs perform differently than the regular season.
But also we had like Manhattan going super deep. Like they didn't have like the one player that was off. They had good depth.
Their lowest TP player in the playoffs was 900 TP.
Yeah, and like Montreal was in a similar boat.
Pretty solid. And I'm also curious if that's just because we don't really have any clue what we're doing with build-wise, and builds are still super, super inefficient among different teams and players because we're working off of previous information.
Definitely fair.
It might just be more variability.
I hope so, but I really am not sure how much stock I put into that yet.
Until the first TP ranked team doesn't win the cup, I'm not holding my breath.
I mean, going to Game 7 against like a team on like a mid-table team like Manhattan, like is pretty clearly an example of like it's viable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what the odds were for Seattle to win that game 7, but it feels like that's not an outlandish expectation. Like you can go into the playoffs not as a 1 seed and win the cup.
Yeah, it feels less viable than I think that we want to feel, because Seattle's offense ended up carrying that because Miller just decided to.
Oh, he disappeared.
He disappeared. Whereas in the beginning of the playoffs, he was incredible,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the finals, like it just switched to Seattle having insane offense, and their goalie was just there.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an assumption that I have about FHM is that so multiple things. I don't want to go down the wormhole and look like crazy alien guy, too hardcore. But I have a feeling that most of the series are pretty much predetermined if you don't change a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed this a lot with the us versus LAP final series. There was like less than 5% chance we ever like won a series against you guys.
Really?
Yeah, it looked a lot better because we got to game 6 and our games were pretty back and forth and competitive. But overall, with series wins, it was less than 5% chance. And I'm curious if that property still exists.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like we had a lot of series where we went to game 7 against you guys, but it didn't matter what happened or what changed. It didn't change it, which is just kind of like, it was very weird. So
I know what you mean. It's like once you get to game 7, it should just be the roll of the dice for one game.
Yeah.
Not like 95%, including the previous games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought in the past, like, percentages would change on winning in the next game based upon how you did, because it would affect player heat and things like that.
That part's fair, I guess, though.
I think it's good for a baseline for things.
Yeah.
The only example of this, and is I think we actually did hit the 5% window, was when we beat Atlanta in the reverse sweep season.
Okay.
And that's because our team was entirely cold. I was testing below like 10% for game 4.
Yeah.
And then we won game 4, and immediately our win percentages shot above 50%. And I was just like, wait, what? I didn't do anything. I didn't change anything. And it's just really just the luck of the dice of player heat. And that's where I got into this crazy like idea that, well, player heat and player individual game performances actually carries a lot of weight. I don't know if it extends over to this, but that's just what I thought.
No, I mean, I do think it does. I just think that at some point in FHM 6 we had negated that effect to a large extent, and I'm hoping that we haven't just like scrambled things and it won't be as easy to negate anymore going forward. Because like I like the hot teams getting hot and running it like Manhattan and Montreal did.
Me too. I love that.
It absolutely sucks, and I say this from a definite point of privilege, being the division, or I guess we weren't even the division. We were the top TPE team that kind of ran the table.
Yeah.
But like having that volatility in the East was super nice, at least from a reassuring standpoint of like, okay, it doesn't matter. Like if you make the playoffs and you go in there with like an idea of what you're doing and what you're trying to do, then like you have an actual possibility of like accomplishing something.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted so badly for Manhattan to win. It's just like it kind of like inspires you to like it inspires you to keep doing it. It's that randomness is just what's fun.
Yeah. No, I mean honestly, like
I think it's in a good place overall.
Yeah. I'm very hopeful that in the next few seasons we get to see some upsets in the Cup Finals, and we don't just have the top TPE team dominating.
My gut intuition is that Manhattan probably wins like 40, maybe down to like 30% of those game 7s.
I hope so.
Like they were in Seattle for one, but I think that they win 30 to 40% of those. Nothing to base it off of, nothing that we can test, but like I think that like they legitimately win a fair number of those. Maybe not the ideal number of those. Maybe that ideal number is like 40 to 45. But I think that that gave me a lot of comfort. And this is something that we were talking about like 2 weeks ago.
I think there's an element that you want of the best teams being able to win too, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want it to be totally.
Yeah, I mean, because I was always talking about how I wanted like that level of like Simon T randomness back, of like everybody, you were capped at how good you could get as a team, as a player, and then like the playoffs were like pretty random, and like that was too much, but you long for that after what we had with FHM6.
I mean, when you have Hamilton just dominate everything for a decade,
that's tough. It turns out that was not the healthiest situation for the league.
Yeah. But I think there also is, like you said, an element of, if you look at just like real hockey, like Tampa Bay winning a couple of years in a row, they would be the highest TP team. I don't know. I think it's okay as long as there's some hope of being a competitive 6 seed that can do something.
Yeah, exactly. And like they were clearly the money favorites. But like if you look at like 538 and you look at like casino lines for real life about like who was going to win the Stanley Cup at the start of the season, at the start of the playoffs, at like as the start of the conference finals even, Tampa wasn't seen as like the given, oh yeah, they're going to win, just pack it up now.
For sure. Yeah.
No, and it started to feel like it was beyond that level of dominance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's a tough balance to strike, and you also just don't know with a sample size of one. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah, I also think that like it's a tough balance, and you're also fighting the majority when you're pushing. Like the majority wants more randomness, and the majority wants the one top team to not succeed, because a majority of the people are not on the top 1 or 2 or 4 teams. So a lot more people, when they're not at that point, want to see vulnerability of the top teams. Yeah. So you're constantly having to balance both like what is actually fair and also balance like this public perception of like how should this look, how should this actually be balanced compared to like what is healthy, what is right, what is best for engagement, things like that. And like if you go too far, then like nobody's incentivized to be the top team because it doesn't matter in the end. But like if it matters too much, then nobody's incentivized to participate because everybody's like feeling like it's pointless. And it's a very tricky balancing act with like contrasting like ideals.
Yeah.
Gibbles are hilarious. Never
change. User questions. Bromanov was asking if he's going to go 2 overall. And there's 2 ways to take this. A, I currently have 2 overall. And Bromanov was a Carolina alumni, and then more recently a Vancouver alumni. The odds that I ever pick at a draft spot that I currently hold before the draft, very low.
Yeah, it's like 30%. Like you like don't trade at all for at 2. Like
there are very few like draft picks that I've possessed that I haven't talked about trading at some point in my career. Like, if you throw me in with like a 1st round through 5th round pick, I'll probably end up talking to teams about trading all of them before like the weekend's done.
Yeah,
I
say until 1 overall is announced, and even after that, I would not discount 7 from having trade talks.
1 overall will get announced, and honestly, my talks will increase.
Yeah.
Because like the 1 overall is uncertainty. Teams don't want to trade for 2 overall if they don't know what 1 overall is. 1 overall happens, and then boom, I'm trading 2 overall.
Right. So it's incredibly hard to predict. I mean, it's incredibly hard to predict 1 overall.
In general,
Yeah, with a class with a class that's going to be as recreate heavy as this, and with how good some of the first gen users are going to be, like you never know. Especially with, there's rumors of people coming back. There's big names. It's who knows. And NL could get a huge return for it because somebody wants that one big name at one overall. So
yeah. I think there's more value to trading back in the first, frankly, in the J.
Yeah.
Probably in the SHL too.
Yeah.
Maybe less so, but being able to have that extra shot on goal with another player, like if you're moving from 2 to 7 to 10, chances are, like, unless you really, really specifically want that one personality, like you're going to get a really, really solid ad. And if you can add someone else in the second or third round, like I made that mistake with U7 moving up. Right?
That's one of my favorite traits, though.
Yeah, I know. And it was because I really wanted to get this first gen that then flipped out when he was, whatever, drafted in the second round of the SHL. But I was trying to stack him with Wannabe Finn and Mikul, which I felt really good about. But in the end, it's like, then I remember the next draft, it's like, shit, where's my second round pick?
Yeah.
And it's like, that sucks.
No, I think that was part of like the big trade tree that I had going on at one point. But that, wait, you said Mikul. What draft class was that? Do we remember off the top of our heads?
I know, like 56 or 7 or something. I don't know.
McFife, right?
Mikul's. If it's McFife, it's 59.
So the 58 J draft was Mikul.
Yeah.
Yes. So Mikul was 7 overall. Yeah, because I traded. Yeah, you traded up to get Soda.
Yep. And I forget if I got 2 or 3 from you. It was one of the 2.
You got 2 from me. I got 11, and I got Blassoon. Yeah. And then the next season was 59, and I used that pick to get Langabeer at 18. Yeah.
Right. So like, if you the delta between Blassoon and, even assuming Soda didn't blow up because of Turtle's fucking drafts in front of him, like, it's not that big of a difference,
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, it was 5 seasons in the J, and Langabeer was 425, not getting called up.
Yeah.
So that's like, that's the ideal player that you have as a JGM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unless they're super active.
Zap saying GM's drafting like chickens with their heads cut off. I mean, it's like, unless you know exactly who you're drafting, like the personalities, especially on first gens, can go either way. And even on recreates, you never know if someone's just gonna get busy in real life and suddenly they're not,
or just get bored.
Yeah.
Or just get bored, or something happens and suddenly they're not earning it.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily just chaos for chaos's sake. It's
hell, sometimes they're like secretly the IHF commissioner and then they just disappear.
Right, just like that.
Heck, you never know if you're gonna draft a 3 overall who's gonna then post really, really bad stuff, or things that can be perceived as really, really negative stuff, and then
weird,
kind of get backlash back on the site, become an apologist, and then leave the site. Couldn't be me. I would not.
Or get lucky like 7 and draft a guy in the 4th and have him turn into a max earner because, like, why not, right?
Frenchie's asking what the backstory on my thing is. I think 56.
56.
The season that I drafted for both LAP and for Carolina, because Lassie stepped down and I was the interim GM. My first round pick for that draft in the J was Calliope, and Calliope was secretly Bex, who was the IAHF commissioner at the time.
Yep.
I didn't even know that.
Somebody clued me. Multiple people at different points have clued me in down the line. I did not know until after Calliope was like almost out of the J from aging out.
Yeah.
The player hit like 325 and like sat as like a filler on like the third line for me for all like 3 or 4 seasons. It was fine. Like value for the draft pick wise, it turned out fine, but sometimes yeah, surprise, first gens are not what they think they are. Also, God, Pen Knight, no, we're not going down that road.
No, definitely not going down that road.
I mean, everyone makes horrible picks in hindsight. It's just like impossible.
Oh yeah, it's honestly a right of being a GM. Like,
or you make a great one in the like. I think I got Jumbo, who then GM'd the team for like almost 2 years in real life.
I mean, yeah, like
he was like in the 5th round.
My 5th round pick was a flyer, and it's one of my favorite stories to tell. My 5th round pick in that same draft that I drafted Calliope, I took a flyer on like a dude that hadn't logged in like 4 days, but had an email associated with his account. So I drafted him and sent him an email, and that was Jimmy.
Yeah.
And like, so I got Jimmy to come back to the league, and then like he almost died, and then he came back to the league again, and we got him again, and like, you know, one of like the best assets as the site has, and like the J draft's absurd and weird and brutal.
Yeah, just because it's especially for first gens, you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a little bit safer to take a bet on a recreate, but not by a lot.
Well, yeah, that's always like the big conflict is like, do you take the recreate that has a higher floor and a lower ceiling, or do you take like the higher variance first gen that they're going to bring more energy, but like they have like a way lower floor to go with that higher ceiling? And like everybody's got like different perspectives. Like you've got some GMs that'll take like mostly recreates, and you got some GMs that'll take mostly first gens, and like it varies person to person. It varies like season to season. Like I'll look at like the composition of what Carolina is like every couple months. And I'll be like, okay, maybe we need to be like more recreate heavy this draft because like we just need like some solid veteran presences because we want to get like a veteran core for like the heavy first gen Reddit class that I want to hit in like 4 months. And it's like a very long term approach that you have to take, even though it's a short term turnover league.
Yeah.
Also, yes, I took 3 left wingers last season when I had like not that many forward positions to fill. It was fine. It worked out. They're all in the war room at this point. It was worth it. Let's see. We had other user questions that I'm trying to find real quick because I keep bouncing away from the thread. We talked about the upcoming J class as a whole. We talked about Kane. Media creation as Birdman's out there posting threads while on the podcast.
I didn't want to forget.
Jurt was at one point asking, how can Jurt and Jess achieve Hockey Talk Tonight's level of success with their podcast?
Really, you just need to start wearing tank tops.
So we'll preface this, like, Jurt and Jess were literally live right before this on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Good pod, you should watch it. But I want to turn that as well to refine that question and talk about, like, what Hockey Talk Tonight did differently at the time of its inception. And what like you should be looking to do if you're looking to make like anything media based, not as a one-off. So like the SHN did a ton of like recurring media that we struggled to put out on a consistent schedule. So we had like power rankings, we had like 3 stars of the IRL week, we had trade recaps, we had draft analysis, we had like specialized media pieces. We were pumping out media at what ended up being an unsustainable rate, partially due to COVID, partially due to just burning ourselves out, and then eventually shifting into a position where we got more jobs. But it's something that like we obviously noticed in Hockey Talk as well, is that like you have to find like the right balance of like how frequently you do things. Because if like you want to do it as frequently as possible, generally, or as frequently as like you want to do, but there's a threshold that like you shouldn't surpass, because at that point you're just not able to keep up with it and not enjoy it. And then either A, you're doing it and you're not enjoying it and whatever you're making suffers, or B, you're not enjoying it and you just stop doing it.
Yeah.
So it's honestly a, if you're not doing anything media wise and you want to do something episodic, you need to start at something you know is a sustainable pace and build up to it from there. Like much like, you know, working out or like any like long-term project that you have to ease yourself into it, or like risk, you know, a backlash from like adjusting too hard into a like something new for your life. Like, and it's something that like Rich had to feel out at one point doing Rich and Luke, and it's something that I think Justin and Jet are doing a good job of. Like they're doing episodes as they want to, and as they feel good about it, and they're not hard committing into like a weekly schedule that we did. And I guess the alternative that we did is when we realized that Hockey Talk was becoming like was like a weekly thing. Like we every week at a specific time was Hockey Talk. And it's something that we wanted to continue doing that way. We were like, okay, how do we deal with these pressures, these like constraints, these burnouts when we have such a set schedule thing? And the idea was honestly, because we had so many people, we just let people take days off whenever. We bring in more guests, we flex around schedules a little bit more. We just don't make everybody feel like they're obligated to do every episode, which is
right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's nice because like for some reason Tuesday night seems to be the night that everybody wants to do literally anything. And so being like I've got a D&D group that's, you know, Tuesday whenever we play, it's usually Tuesday nights. I've been invited to do trivia on Tuesday nights. They've got this. It's just like one, pick a different night for those other things.
Mm-hmm.
But two, it's nice to be able to have the flexibility of saying, hey, I'm not going to be here this week.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think the other thing that like we really benefited from having we started it during the pandemic when nobody had anything else to do but sit home and watch our show. We had nothing to do but sit around and produce the show. And then
we were like, why don't we usually sit in voice chat and talk about the SHL? Might as well do it for money.
Yeah, but like the big thing was like we legitimately just had enough people to throw at it that it didn't ever really feel like a whole lot of work.
Yeah, splitting it between 4 people is a lot easier than either recording something by yourself or even with 2 people.
Yeah, and it made the scheduling harder. And I'm sure that, you know, Birdman and you can both talk about with your experiences trying to do the San Francisco podcast. It's hard to schedule that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the more people you can get involved in the project, the easier it gets to facilitate.
Yeah, and I know Toast is really the driver of Lions Speak Tonight, and he's, you know, more than willing to have whoever wants to join from the Pride in whenever they want. But it's just like, oh, we're gonna do it Saturday at this time, and then it's just whether people show up or not, or whether they're able to make it. It's just kind of like, when can people get together, and you try and plan it enough in advance to make sure people are there, but you're never perfect.
Yeah.
I've even appeared on the Pride for uninvited.
Wait, what?
For a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he decides to hop in for no reason while they're recording, and
I've thought about doing
like,
that too.
Wasn't that like the first or second episode?
Yeah, it was the first or second episode. They're all in the chat, and I'm just like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And they're just like in the middle of their.
You also did that during our draft.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, what's up?
I looked at Discord on my phone during the draft, and I like looked at the Pride voice chat to see who was there. I just see Dwight chilling in the voice chat. I was just like, wait a second, what?
He didn't have any picks, so we were chilling. It was fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then so you got to make sure that you're doing it enough, but not make and then making sure you're doing it enough that like you're not going to hate yourself for doing it, and then just do something interesting. Like this was like Rich and Luke existed as a thing on Twitch, but it was mostly for the VODs. And like there were other podcasts on YouTube and Spotify, but like we were like, hey, what if we took this thing and made it like an interactive thing? And like the interaction made it like that unique thing that like people wanted to get engaged with and immediately drove people to paying attention.
Right. Well, and part of it was like, I think when we first started it, I was doing the double streaming on YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah.
And so like the Twitch interaction with the league was already there, and so we were like, all right, well we can do the podcast on Twitch too, and that would will help drive engagement for that and the sim. So yeah.
I think one of the real things to get people to watch your things live, it really depends what your goal is from success and what you measure as success. But if your goal is people watching things live, be in Geck number of locker rooms and just post in all of them, and you'll probably get a few eyeballs.
That turned into a big advantage for us though, because like we had like 4 different SHL teams and 3 different J teams. So that was like a huge thing that we could pull on. Drawing up on an hour and 20 minutes, so we're gonna let everybody get on with their nights. Closing question. Something that I've seen on TikTok recently are 2 guys that have a podcast. Shocking. I know that 2 white guys with a podcast is showing up on my For You page. But they've been doing drafts of different random things. Like their one today was they were drafting all the things that were red. So the first thing that went off the board was was a red light. Second thing off the board was stop sign. Went from there.
Okay.
Food draft. What are you taking 1 overall?
Food draft.
Damn. I had Clifford line up for red draft.
Sorry.
Damn.
I mean, pizza's the easy choice, but I don't know if it's the right one.
Yeah. It's something that I could eat a ton of always and forever.
Something that everyone likes.
Yeah, pizza's coming in as like the versatile option.
I feel like chocolate chip cookies has got to be up there.
Ooh, specialist.
Yeah, or not even that. It's just like cookies in general, because who doesn't really like cookies?
Okay.
I think sushi would be high on my list, but I know that it would slide a little bit, so it's like not good value to take that one overall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm debating on tacos, because I feel like tacos would be up there for a lot of people.
And they're super versatile, so...
Yeah, I'm going with tacos as
my
one overall. Not limited by protein choice. It's great.
Okay.
Tacos is mine.
I like it.
Okay. Fried chicken.
Fried chicken. That's a good
Fried chicken is something that you can easily play it in the lunch or dinner slot. You got a lot of different flavor options. You can put it in wing form or nugget form, but you can also put it in like...
but then you're losing the whole vegetarian and vegan and...
Okay, but you're...
Have you seen this man?
That's true. Fair enough.
Sure,
fair enough.
He is not vegetarian, nor is he vegan.
Me? I actually don't eat a lot of meat.
That doesn't mean you're not restricted.
I mean, yeah, but so it's flexible and like it's super powerful in the things that it does well, but like you can flex it over into like a chicken and waffles for breakfast.
Ooh, true.
Like it's solid in leftovers. It's great, straight out of the kitchen. Like it's everything that you're looking for. I think like the elite status, but something that you can flex around if you need to.
Batter it in sauce, baby. Yeah, that's a good one. I couldn't live off of it though.
No, but like you're not trying to live off most of these. That's why you're building a team.
I'm carried by tacos.
True. That's right. I mean, I would eat tacos pretty much every day of the week if I could.
Agreed.
My big setback with that is either time or money.
That's fair.
I would pretty happy.
Sodium intake.
Oh.
I mean, my blood pressure's already really high, actually.
Just drink more water.
But I think that's all we have. Thank you, Birdman, for coming out. Glad that you could bless us with Johnny Wagner Svensson.
God, so good.
It's
looking forward
incredible.
to a successful and long career.
Hey, thank you for having me, guys. It was a fun time.
Yeah,
I was glad I was able to share Johnny Wagner Svensson's story with you all. It's now so also been included on the site, so that text will be there forever as well. It's gonna be a lot of people that don't know the backstory of that.
That's fine.
Maybe I should link the TMZ article, but or not.
I'll see if I can throw it in on my.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm sure that'd work.
That'd be great. Just sneak it in there at some point when no one's paying attention.
Wait, yeah, you know,
like right before you get updated, so then it just still looks like the updater updated you.
In like the accolades section.
That's the accolades section. There you
go. Thank you guys for coming out. It was good to have everybody in the chat. We'll check in next week to recap the J draft. And until then, have a good night. Have a good week. And we'll see you then.
Have a good one.
I honestly can't believe it. I expected it, but I still didn't want to believe it.
Dude, you posted that in the chat earlier, and I screenshot it and sent it to the.
Oh, you knew?
Oh
yeah.
When it was announced,
I didn't want to spoil it.
I'm going to bid this up, and I'm going to name him after.
Oh my god,
that's so good.